Did Debra Medina just have her Michael Dukakis moment? Or, in the grand scheme of things, certainly as far as Texas is concerned, is her statement regarding the truther movement no big deal, actually? 214-787-1570, 800-583-1570. That's at the Metroplex pound KLIF on your Sprint wireless telephones. What did Debra Medina do today? In case you have not heard, what I'm trying to figure out here is whether or not Debra Medina finished up her gubernatorial campaign today when Glenn Beck on Radioactive Talk Radio 570 KLIF, when Glenn Beck asked her the question, what did she think about the truther movement? This is what she said.
Then let me be more frank and ask you the question. Do you believe the government was any way involved with the bringing down of the World Trade Centers on 9/11?
I don't have all of the evidence there, Glenn, so I'm not in a place. I have not been out publicly questioning that. I think some very good questions have been raised in that regard. There's some very good arguments, and I think the American people have not seen all of the evidence there, so I've not taken a position on that.
The position is pretty simple, at least in my eye view, which is, no, the government didn't have anything to do with 9/11. I've looked at that myself, inside, outside, upside down. I've talked to people that I can't tell you about. They have told me what they thought, and I believe what they have to say, and I am perfectly satisfied with what we know about the 9/11 attacks, and I guarantee you the government of the United States didn't have anything to do with any kind of inside job on that particular attack. Now, you can believe me or not, that's okay. I mean, everybody's got their own opinion. You know, if you feel that the government was involved, well, I'm sorry, but we disagree. I'm not going to change your mind. You're not going to change mine. But what we have to figure out is whether or not Debra Medina took herself out of the chase for the governor's mansion today. Did she do that? You are the only person that knows. So let's talk. On the Wells Report on Talk Radio 570 KLIF. Mark in Dallas, what do you think?
She says she takes no position in it. Look at the Kennedy assassination. Look at the Roosevelt in World War II with the Japanese attack on Pearl Harbor. All those facts ain't out. She's just telling the truth is all she's doing. She didn't say anything wrong.
Do you think she took herself out of the chase today for governor of Texas?
For telling the truth? No. I hope she wins.
All right. You haven't changed your vote?
I haven't changed my vote.
All right. Thanks very much. Brad in Roanoke, welcome to the Wells Report on the legendary KLIF.
Hey, JD. I'm sorry, that was too broad of a question that he asked. I mean, the truther movement, there are legitimate questions like, you know, did we know everything that was going to happen and just couldn't put it all together at once?
Yes.
And then you have the crazies that think against physics that we brought it down. So if you go with people that are truthers that are asking legitimate questions, she was right. If you're going with just the crazies, yeah, I can understand why you see she's wrong. But I'm not going to not vote for her because of that. I think she did right. I think she answered as best she could with such a broad question.
I want to know from you whether or not you believe that a question regarding national politics has anything to do with the governor of Texas being elected in this state.
Absolutely not.
All right, so you're okay with what happened?
I'm okay with it.
All right. Thanks very much. I appreciate it. Thank you for joining us on the Wells Report. Mark in Saxe, you're next up on Talk Radio 570 KLIF.
Good afternoon, JD.
Hey.
She answered it the only way she could if she's an individual that's actually thinking. You know, and you asked before if it was a hit piece or a hit, you know, on
an ambush.
Let me give you an example. Let's switch seats. Let's put Rick Perry in that interviewee seat. Let's slap him in there. Now, I want you to picture Glenn, the hitman Beck, asking this question. Governor Perry, a few months ago, you took a trip to Istanbul, Turkey, to meet with the Bilderbergers. Would you mind telling us who all was there and what was discussed? Because the state travel logs prove that you went. Do you think you'd hear that question?
Well, I would be interested in hearing what the answer was. I mean, I certainly would.
Would like to hear answers to the 9/11 questions also, JD. Who shorted all them stocks? Don't tell me they don't know who shorted the airline stocks.
Well, let's hold that in abeyance for right now, and let's talk about Debra Medina here on the Wells Report on Talk Radio 570 KLIF. Steve in Dallas, what do you think? Has she taken herself out of serious consideration for the governor of Texas?
Well, you know, John David, I don't think she has, and you know, it may not have been the most politically smart thing to say it the way she did, but you know, she made some really good points. I mean, I'd sure like to know, for one thing, I'd like to have an investigation as why haven't any heads rolled? Why wasn't anybody fired or demoted? Debra, to me, just appears to be somebody who is like a regular person, like she says. She's not a professional politician. And I find that really refreshing and attractive. But, being a regular person who's not a smooth, polished politician like Perry or Hutchinson, she's going to say what's on her mind.
She is going to make mistakes.
She's going to be honest. And I respect her for that. And I have no intention of changing my vote. I think she's one of the best candidates I've seen in a while.
All right. Thanks very much. You're listening to the Wells Report. This is Radioactive Talk Radio, 570 KLIF, 214-787-1570, 800-583-1570, outside the Metroplex, pound KLIF on your Sprint wireless telephone. I want to know whether or not Debra Medina has taken herself out of serious consideration to be the governor of Texas. And if so, who are we going to vote for? What did you think about the interview today between Debra Medina and Glenn Beck? By the way, in case you don't know, Debra Medina will be joining us in approximately 25 minutes from right now, actually 20 minutes from right now. She will join us to answer your questions at the phone numbers I just gave you. Let's get to George in Cleburne. Thanks very much for joining us, George. I really enjoyed being in Cleburne the other day. That's a nice little town you guys have there.
Oh, it ain't too bad. Kind of stuck off away from Fort Worth and everything. But getting a little bit of population. Thanks for taking my call. Did you hear what he had to say about Perry before the interview?
I heard that he really likes him. I heard that he thinks that he's a great governor, and that's really nice coming from a guy who lives where? In New York?
Right.
I'm thinking that when you live in New York, any governor looks pretty good.
More than likely. I don't know. It just seems like him going. The only thing he had bad to say about him was Perry was bad on the border, but he kept on talking about everything else, and kind of made me wonder if maybe he wasn't set up by Perry to. Or he was, he claims he's not for anybody, but then he came out with all that with Perry, and then he did that. I consider it an ambush and a hit, and I wish he'd been a little more articulate, but hey, she ain't no polished politician like the last guy said, and that's a big plus.
All right. Thanks very much. I appreciate it. Gary in Mansfield, you're next up on Talk Radio 570 KLIF.
Yeah, absolutely. I've changed my mind about Glenn Beck. Of course he ambushed her. And those clowns acted like a bunch of punks, laughing and giggling about asking her that question. And frankly, I'm no truther, and I don't believe Debra Medina is a truther. I've got a whole lot of questions about a whole lot of recent history that's going on that involves our government, but I don't believe that they had anything to do with 9/11, and I don't think she took herself out. I think she did a good answer. She's got a great response on her website, and I haven't really considered whether or not I'm going to vote for her or not, but this in no way, shape, or form ruins her credibility with me. But Glenn Beck just lost.
Yeah, well, there have been more than one person say that today, and we've gotten emails, as you might expect. I mean, lots and lots and lots of them.